Breaking news! Our very best minds have discovered paradoxes that call into question the very foundation of our scientific worldview. And if this guy doesn't seem too worried, there's a reason. His older, organic, Aristotelian worldview is immune from your mechanical meltdown. Let me explain. Quick, write out a list of everything that exists in the universe. Yeah, I know it's going to be a long list, and it includes frogs and tax returns, but not four-sided triangles and unicorns. Those guys don't exist. So far, so good. But now let's consider sets, groups of things, even sets of sets. And just like that, we have arrived at a paradox. Consider the set of all sets that does not include itself. See the problem? If the set includes itself, then it doesn't. But if it doesn't, then it does. Here's another form of the same problem, an island, where the barber shaves everyone who does not shave himself. So if the barber shaves himself, then he doesn't. But if he doesn't, then he does. And if all this sounds like little more than a joke to you, I agree. But Bertrand Russell and others thought it was a really big deal. So I've heard, does that barber, does that set belong on your list of things that exist or not? Can we even come up with this list of everything in the universe? And that's an easy question for Aristotle. No, you can't. He was all into logical organization into divisions based on genus and specific difference. Some quick examples. If the genus is plane figures, the definition or the specific difference for triangle would be a plane figure with three straight sides. If the genus is animal, then humans are the rational animal. And horses are large, domesticated, odd-toed, hoofed mammals used for pulling and or riding. So, why won't Aristotle let you write out a list of everything in the universe? Why can't, quote, things that exist be the ultimate or the supreme genus? It is a subtle point, but the specific difference in the genus can't be plane figure here. And in this genus, the specific difference cannot be animal. So in the genus exists, the specific difference couldn't exist. Get it? So what then, for Aristotle, is this supreme genus? Substance, the union of form and matter, defined by its essence, individuated by its accidents. Even if you can't make a list of everything that exists, you can still start working on a list of things that subsist, of things that could, not necessarily things that do, but things that could exist by themselves. And no, that barber and no, that set would not belong on this list of things that subsist, because those types of entities could not possibly be made. And have you ever heard that a stopped clock is right twice a day? Well, the clock tells time, and when it's right, and when it's wrong, it's wrong. Statements are like that. They are either right or wrong. So if our first list was a bit of a flop, maybe we can still write out a list of true facts, things we can confirm true about the universe. 3 is odd. Dogs fetch and cats don't, which is true in general, even if it's not necessarily true for each and every dog and each and every cat. Fish sticks are on sale this week, which is true, but not necessarily true in the same way that 3 is an odd number is true. Anyway, we'll put it on the list, which, if that's your approach to knowledge, might make Gödel's Incompleteness theorem kind of a big deal. Lots of other people have explained this. My favorite explanation is from Veritasium. You can check that out. There is no proof for card G is written on card G. So there are true statements that we cannot prove. Your list, therefore, of true statements about the world is, even for a simplified world, necessarily incomplete. True statements exist that you cannot prove. Here is a simplified version. Quote, this sentence is false. Does that go on your list of true sentences or not? And if you are rolling your eyes right now, good. So are we, because this is not a problem in the scholastic worldview. And neither is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. I demand to know the exact position and the exact momentum of this electron right now. Well, who said that the universe is under some obligation to reveal every single possible piece of information that you'd ever possibly want to know and make your list complete? Who told you that? Or wave-particle duality, or quantum jumps, or wave functions and collapsing wave functions and relativity and the twin paradox, or even Bell's theorem, all of which are really interesting and definitely worth Googling, but not worth sweating about. Well, maybe they are. Anyway, back now to our list of true statements. The kind of thinking led to modern symbolic logic and the paradox of material implication, also worth Googling. And why is that a paradox? Because it says that any false statement implies any other statement, which is a little bit of a head scratcher. Let's go back to that list of true statements. Ready? Consider this statement. Is this true? If grass is purple, then watermelons fly. Is that true? Does that belong on the list? Well, to find out, we pause to draw out a truth table. But before you can figure out your answer, a spaceship lands, an alien gets out. Yo, I got a question. He looks down and reads, can watermelons fly? You're a little bit surprised, but you manage to say, no. Got it, says the alien. And that means that grass is not purple. It's not, you agree. True. And the alien flies away. So maybe it is true, and maybe material implication isn't all bad after all, but we didn't say it was all bad, just that it was meaningless. Like your silly self-referential statements, they are not true or false. They are just meaningless. If a truth table helps you turn semiconductors into gates that perform logic functions, great. I'll play with the transistor radio and the computer when you figure out how to build that. But truth is correspondence with reality. It is saying of that which is that it is, and that which is not that it is not. The human mind is not a computer, or not just a computer. The human mind works not by arranging propositions, but by abstracting forms and essences, those things again, from the senses. Anyone with some baseline talent, and who has considerable experience, who has considered and reflected upon that experience so as to reach a state of self-sustaining growth in this undertaking, has reached a state known as mastery. And that person in that specific field can be said to have achieved some true, or at least some less partial knowledge. I call it less partial because the complete truth of any piece of the observed world is inseparable from the rest, from the context, from the system. It is analogous, imperfectly, but analogous to a fractal, where the larger patterns are repeated or at least echoed onto the smaller scale. So isolated statements, like isolated sounds, lose their meaning. Which brings us to a third type of paradox or dilemma. Should I do X or Y? Let us set up a complex and impossibly difficult situation, and guess what? It's complex and impossibly difficult. And doesn't that show that rules of right and wrong are poor guides? Well, no, not at all. The rules, the regula, it's a measuring stick. And a good measuring stick is still a good measuring stick, even when the thing that you're trying to measure is uncooperative. The dilemmas themselves are troubling. But just as the scholastics thought it irrational to try to list out all the things in existence or all the true statements, they did not, despite what you may have heard, want to classify each individual human choice as either right or wrong. Ethics involves more. It involves changing yourself, conforming your will to the desired object, the training in virtue, the good habits, or the vices, the bad habits. Here is an example. From two different locations in town, two people drop their wallets on the ground. One is found by a Girl Scout captain of Team Virtue. The other is found by a person who is walking home after shoplifting. One person immediately decides to find out who the wallet belongs to and return it. The other person reaches for the cash, but then sees something in the wallet, maybe a picture, maybe a name. They pause. Well, this address isn't very far from here. Maybe I could just drop this wallet off on my way. Well, who acted better? It's a complicated question. They are equal, in that both returned the wallet. The altruistic impulse is laudable, but so is the deliberated mastering of baser instincts. So who acted better? Well, here's another question. Which person here acted freely? There are at least 4 possible answers. Answer 1. Both acted freely because neither one acted out of fear of some authority. 2. Neither acted freely. No actions are truly free. Behavior is controlled by emotional responses beyond our control, things we're seldom even aware of. Or option 3, you could say the shoplifter acted freely because he chose to go against his first instinct. There was, in his action, the rational brain winning out over the lower brain. Option 4, the Girl Scout, because she had a freer, a more spontaneous impulse to follow and did not suffer the psychological doubt, but rather moved naturally towards the good, having first conformed her rational nature towards that good. It is a model always seeking synthesis and not dissection. And we're not saying that the different elements of human action cannot or should not be considered in isolation. It's just that isolating something leaves other things out and does not give a full picture. And if that's the price you are willing to pay for precision and for predictability, great. But if it is, there will necessarily be holes in your story.